you.
And talking with Pastor Plumley earlier about the drive coming up June 23rd and 24th to benefit families affected by COVID-19, he mentioned that donations of food were very much needed. They are certainly seeing that every day at the Chattanooga Area Food Bank. Sophie Moore joins us this morning with some projections that are really not a lot of fun to share, Sophie, but very important for people to hear.
Right. So first of all, thanks again for having us on. You're always so generous with your time and sharing it with the food bank. We've all been speculating about how big the impact is of coronavirus on causing hunger in our community. And Feeding America, of which we're a member, recently released a study that says up to 1 in 5 people overall and 1 in 4 children could face food insecurity as a result of the coronavirus. And that's a 40% increase overall and over 50% for children. And this means that people are less certain about where they're going to get their next meal. They may not have enough food or adequate food. And so we're continuing to serve anyone who is facing hunger and really looking to the future to prepare, since we don't know how long the pandemic will last or the economic impact following it.
Well, Sophie, so often when we talk, always it's about the need for help in providing those who are coming and knocking on your door, because sadly the need doesn't ever go away. But usually we focus on the benefit of monetary contributions, and that still is the case. But even if you get all the food in the world, aren't you going to need help distributing it?
We do, actually. And after the pandemic began, one of the first consequences we saw was a significant drop-off in volunteers. A lot of companies that normally volunteered with us had sent their employees home. A lot of volunteers had decided to shelter in place. And so we do really need the manpower. Last year we had over 3,300 people who shared their time with us. So yes, we can get all the food in the world, but if we can't sort it and pack it and distribute it, it isn't much good to anyone else. So we have a lot of opportunities available right now.
And people had a chance when we did Share Your Christmas this year. We did it from the food bank. It's a huge space that you have there. So I would imagine for volunteers coming in, it's pretty easy to follow the social distancing guidelines.
Yes, and we have actually put in place limitations on the number of volunteers that we can have because of that reason. And so you can volunteer in our warehouse. We have an outdoor pavilion in our garden where we also have food sorting and preparations for our mobile pantries. You can also volunteer at our mobile pantries and actually personally participate in our no-touch distributions to the people coming to get the food who need it so much.
So are you getting, I'm jumping into an area that you might not even be able to talk about, but do your funding dollars come in part from local support and in part from federal grants?
So our funding is a very complex, diverse set. Right now, we get funding through a lot of local community members who have been incredibly generous. People like you and me, individuals who have given of their own. A lot of our local companies have been very, very generous in supporting us. Blue Cross gave us our largest one-time gift ever of $500,000 back in March, which really helped us be able to respond to the need. We receive donations and grants from national and international companies. Through our membership in Feeding America, we're able to access some grant dollars there as well. And while we don't receive federal grants per se, we participate in USDA programs to distribute food.
Well, I was asking the question, we have like less than 2 minutes left, and I was asking the question because we don't know how long this is going to go on, and so I'm sure you're very cautious with how you're distributing this money each month because you want to make sure it can last as long as it can.
Absolutely, you're right. We don't know when it's going to be over, and we know that even before the pandemic, so many people in our community were facing hunger anyway, and so we're continuing to serve them as well as the people who've never needed our help until this first time. And so it could be months, it could be years. So we are being very careful about how we deploy those dollars and making sure that we'll be able to sustain that assistance.
Before I let you run, when people do come, and I believe that right now volunteers are bringing the food out to a car, right? There's no real person-to-person contact much. Is that right?
Right, we have no-touch distributions.
That's the way you say it. But when they do meet them, less than a minute, do they sometimes talk to the volunteers about places they can turn if they're looking for employment or need help with other bills and that kind of thing?
Absolutely. So in our emergency food box, which is a program for Hamilton County residents at our Chattanooga warehouse, we actually include a flyer with the distribution for several different places to call, like 211, like Metnin, like the community kitchen, links to student meals, and more.
So if you are looking to volunteer and if you're in a position to give, please think about continuing the efforts at the Chattanooga Area Food Bank. As wonderful as that large donation was from Blue Cross and Blue Shield, the $5 donations from people like us also go a long way as well. Sophie, always good to see you.
Thanks, good to see you.
And you can find the food bank on Curtin Pole Road, also online at chatfoodbank.org, and the phone number is 622-1800. We're back with more 3+U in just a minute.